Well, happy day. I hope you are doing good. I would like to lead you through a brief meditation on John chapter 3, verses 30 through 35. I'll be reading from the NASB version. This is the 1995 version of the New American Standard Bible. There's no particular reason why I picked this translation. Actually, the pastor that works in my church, he uses this translation whenever we do some lectio or some Bible study together. So I just picked it on the day that we did this study together because he's reading from there. So I just want to kind of reflect on these words and really just share what I saw and what I noticed as I read these words with a group of people from my community earlier today. So this is John chapter 6, verses 30 through 35. I'm going to read through this a little slowly. So if you're in a place where you can prayerfully meditate on some scriptures and think about these words, then I hope that you will appreciate my slow reading. Verse 30, all the way to 35. So they said to him, "What then do you do for a sign so that we may see and believe you? What work do you perform? Our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness, as it is written, He gave them bread out of heaven to eat." Jesus then said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, it is not Moses who has given you the bread out of heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread out of heaven. For the bread of God is that which comes down out of heaven and gives life to the world." Then they said to him, "Lord, always give us this bread." Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst." So there's a couple things that I noticed as I read this with my group, and I want to talk about that. And if you would like to comment below, I would love to hear what you've noticed in this reading and maybe what the Spirit is calling you to pay attention to prayerfully as you're engaging with this text. So the first thing I noticed was in verse 35, where Jesus says to them, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst." I was reminded of the importance of not just reading scripture literally, but leaving room to read the words of Jesus metaphorically as well. Because if I read this literally, when I say literally, I mean like taking every word as like face value. When Jesus says, "I am the bread of life, he who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst," as if I read this and I assume that, okay, as I come to Jesus, I'm going to be prosperous for the rest of my life. I'm going to have all the food I can ever want. I will have all the water I can ever want because I will never hunger. I will never. No, not just that. No, it's not just that I have these possessions and these things, but I won't even have a desire to pursue those things because my hunger, my thirst will be quenched. And every human being on the planet will always be hungry as long as they live. Every human being on the planet will always be thirsty as long as they live. So we definitely have to go past a literal reading and a literal understanding of what Jesus is saying and try to figure out what it means metaphorically. What does it mean to be hungry? And it's not just, no, we're not saying that Jesus doesn't care about our hunger and our thirst physically, like our literal hunger and thirst. But Jesus is trying to communicate something to us about a spiritual need and a spiritual thirst and hunger that he is saying that he can quench. He can quench. So that's what I'm drawn to. I'm drawn to be careful with how I'm looking at scripture. As I'm reading this, I'm being mindful of the importance of looking beyond the literal sometimes. And there are some times where it is going to be literal, and this is going to take some discernment. It's going to take some wisdom. It's going to take some reading with other people, other Christians, to see, okay, what is something that we probably need to take metaphorically? What is something that we probably can take literally? Like an example of something we can take literally is verse 33, where it says, "For the bread of God is that which comes down out of heaven and gives life to the world." And of course, there's even metaphorical things we can read into this, but like God is giving bread to the world through Jesus, and this is the whole world. It's not just one group of people or one particular region, but this is the whole world. I think that's something we can take literally, that God has come to bring love and light and freedom through Christ, through Jesus, and it's for the whole world. Another thing that stood out to me as I read it with my group is that in verse 34, when he says, "Then they said to him, 'Lord, always give us this bread.'" So, whatever Jesus is trying to offer us that goes beyond the literal or even just the physical needs that we have is something that we need always. And we were reminded in our study and our time looking at this with my group is that we were reminded that we need what we need every single day. Like, I need water every single day. I need food every single day. I need, I have physical needs every day. And I have spiritual needs, and I have mental needs, and I have emotional needs every single day. So words like this just remind me of my dependency on God, my dependency on Jesus, on the word, on spiritual bread. Like, I need it every single day. And I think this is why they said to him in verse 34, "Lord, always give us this bread. Always give us what we need." I think that it's a beautiful place to be, to recognize that you are dependent because it's a scary thing at the time. At times, it really is to recognize that, okay, every day I have to be mindful about seeking something outside of me. Does that make sense? Because I cannot fully sustain myself alone. So I need God, and I need community. I need people. I need others every day. So these are some of the things that I was drawn to as I read this. And my prayer walking away from this, and maybe this could be your prayer too, is that God will give me my daily bread, that God will give me all that I need right now. And I can trust that all that I have is all that I need, whatever I'm given for this day. So we could talk about this for a while. There's a lot of questions that I have as I look at these words, but my prayer, my hope is that you may have some time to reflect on some of these words and walk away not with just information, but a different posture. I hope that as you engage with these words, that you're walking away with more light, more love, more hope, more more fulfillment, because this is what Jesus promises. He promises through what he offers, through what the Spirit offers, through what the Father offers. And I think every time we are reminded of these words and engaged with this narrative, that we are reminded of all of these things, and we have an opportunity to be in touch with reality, and also with spiritual realities. That's all I have to share today. Blessings to your day. Thank you for meditating on these words with me, and I pray that some of these words have been helpful. Everything is changing. Everything is new. He is rearranging, 'cause she is on the move. Everything is changing. Everything is new. He is rearranging, 'cause she is on the move. I met you